The Our Guest restaurant is one of the most sought-after reservations in Disney World, but with the new changes to the restaurant, is it still worth the trip? Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Vlog. Okay, since the reopening of the Disney parks, we've seen some changes to menus and dining experiences at restaurants all over the place. One of the biggest changes was the Be Our Guest restaurant update in Magic Kingdom, where breakfast has been totally eliminated for the time being, along with one of our favorite lunches in the park. Now, instead of an a la carte fast casual lunch, the meal is just like dinner, which is a $62 prix-fixe menu. So is it still worth it? Well, we've got a full review to help you decide today. All right, like most restaurants in Disney World right now, you're going to want to make an advanced dining reservation at Be Our Guest restaurant. They're operating at limited capacity and walk-up reservations will be less common, but it's still worth asking day of if you weren't able to snag one in advance. We dined on an annual pass holder preview day and luckily were able to grab a same-day reservation to check out how the new lunch service holds up. So let's talk about the atmosphere. Let's head into the Beast Castle. This is why Be Our Guest has been so popular since it opened way back in 2012. Can you believe it's been open for almost 10 years and it's still a must-get reservation for so many people? But you cannot see inside the Beast's Castle unless you have a reservation here, or unless you dine here, I should say. The Beast Castle is amazing. It's beautifully done. It's overwhelmingly lifelike to the animated movie, if you can say lifelike to an animated movie, but it looks just like it. It's absolutely like stepping into a film. So that's why it's so cool to go inside and why people really want to be in there. So let's talk atmosphere. Once you get inside, there are 3 rooms you may be seated in: the Grand Ballroom, the Rose Gallery, and the West Wing. So let's talk about each of these. The Grand Ballroom is huge. That's of course where Beauty and the Beast have their famous dance in the animated film. This is an incredible room. It's absolutely gorgeous. From a photography perspective, it's not as great because it's kind of a yellow light, but you guys don't care about that. That's for me to worry about, not for you. But it's really beautiful in there. It's a huge cavernous room, and the interesting parts here are, first up, look at the ceiling, and you've got a gorgeous painted ceiling, but you've got a bunch of little cherubs who are actually Imagineers and their kids, which is interesting. And then if you look outside the windows, you'll see snowfall, of course, and that snowfall is the actual animated snowfall from the film. So it's just like what you saw in the film, which is very cool. Over in the West Wing, you've of course got the Beast's private part of that castle, private area of that castle. And that is where the Enchanted Rose is. That is where the Beast's portrait is, which is of the prince. But once every 20 minutes or so, there'll be a horrible thunderstorm and it will flash over and become the Beast for a couple of flashes there. Now, the Enchanted Rose is very stunning and it is animated as well. And every once in a while, a petal will fall off the rose. So that's a really interesting thing to check out. It's one of the reasons why I love the West Wing the most to dine in. But if you look around the West Wing, you'll also see slashed tapestries. I mean, the Beast is clearly not a happy gentleman, so you can very much see that in the West Wing decor elements. Now, heading into the Rose Gallery, the cast members at Be Our Guest restaurant will tell you that this is Belle's favorite room because she got to design it after she moved into the castle with the Beast. So this was not seen in the film. It's a completely new room that Disney just sort of created for this restaurant. But you can see with the portraits and the pictures on the wall, Beast and Belle's life together. So it's pretty nice. And in the middle is that giant music box that Maurice made for Belle and the Beast for their wedding, which of course, again, totally made up, but so is everything else, right? This is just a story. So that's what you're going to find in the 3 separate dining rooms in there. Now, you can request a dining room when you check in for your reservation. It may not be granted, just like when you request any table in Disney World, it might not be granted, but you can always request what dining room you'd like to be seated in, and they'll do their best to grant that request. Okay, so Disney World is using QR digital menus right now, so you'll be able to pull up a menu with your phone's camera function. But if you prefer, you can ask for a paper menu and they'll bring you one. Now, when you're making your requests for a room, if you have little ones who are afraid of the dark or of thunder, you may want to request not to be seated in the West Wing because there is that kind of perpetual thunderstorm happening in there. And a super exciting thing that's happening at lunch right now that we weren't prepared for, honestly, I was super jazzed when I found out about it, is that the Beast is there. Now, the Beast was always available at dinner. He would be in his study and you'd be able to go get his autograph after you finished dinner. Now, of course, they're not doing autographs right now, but the Beast is doing a tour of the castle a couple of times an hour. And so he'll come out of his private chambers, wherever those are, and he will sort of walk through each of the dining rooms, nodding at guests and sort of pausing here and there so you can take a socially distanced selfie with him in the background. I thought it was very, very sweet when he went into the West Wing that he paused to look at the enchanted rose and to sort of make some hand gestures, noting that he was a little stressed out about that rose petal falling, which was very sweet, I thought. But so the Beast basically wanders around the castle a couple of times an hour so that you can definitely see him. I thought that was really cool that they added that to lunch as well. But I guess if you're paying $62, you need a little something extra. So lunch is the same meal as dinner right now, and you do get to see the Beast. So it isn't your typical character meal, though. Remember, no autographs. The Beast isn't going to have a photo with you. He's not going to meet and greet you. He's just going to walk through the rooms, and he does stop and bow from time to time. But since you won't find the Beast anywhere else in Disney World, you literally can't meet him anywhere else, only here. This is a great place to go if you have a Beauty and the Beast fan. All right, let's talk about the meal itself. Lunch right now is the same menu as that prix fixe dinner. It's expensive, $62, $37 for kids, and it's a 3-course meal. It starts with your choice of appetizer, your choice of entree, and a dessert trio. So kids get their own choice of appetizer and entree as well, with swappable sides, along with their own dessert trio. Of course, there's a bread service as well as a wine and beer menu for those over 21. You can get wine and beer only at table service restaurants in Magic Kingdom. For our appetizer, we chose a French onion soup. Now, this is a dish that's been around since the very beginning of Be Our Guest Restaurant, and we've tried the soup nearly every time we've dined here. It's one of my favorites. It's a signature dish. It holds up to previous visits. It's very cheesy. It's delicious. Note that when Be Our Guest opened, this was a vegetarian dish, but now they do have veal broth in it, so it's no longer vegetarian. Just a heads up for those of you who remember that from the opening. But it's actually really delicious. It's a wonderful soup. I'm a big French onion soup fan, so I get it just about everywhere, and this is a good one. Now, we also tried the assorted meats and artisanal cheese selection, which is a pretty substantial charcuterie board. This one came with chicken liver pate, shaved serrano ham, chorizo sausage, Pleasant Ridge cheddar, truffle tremor, that wonderful cheese, and Stilton blue with seasonal garnishes. So we definitely ate it up super quickly. We were starving. It was that annual pass holder preview, so we had been going all day so far, and we knew we had a lot more to go, and so we ate that whole thing. It was gone pretty quickly. Now, kids can get their own version of a charcuterie board with fruit and cheese. That's one of the kids' appetizers options. Super cute, really well done, mild cheeses here, so if your kid likes cheese at all, they'll probably be okay with it. Now, the adults also have a choice of a mixed grain salad or lobster bisque, and kids can opt for a wedge salad or applesauce. Those are all the appetizer options. For one of our entrees, we picked the herb salted pork tenderloin, served with crispy pork belly, seasonal vegetables 2 ways, pork juice, and candy pecan. Now, the pork belly in here was delicious. It was very fatty and rich and just gorgeous pork belly. That the tenderloin was a little bit tough, and it had a lot less flavor, of course. I mean, if you're going to compare pork tenderloin to pork belly, you're of course going to have less flavor with the tenderloin. But the sweet potato puree it was served with was excellent. It was very sweet, and it had very powerful flavor. I thought it was delicious. And we also ordered the center cut filet mignon, which was just as tasty as when we had it at dinner in 2018. And it really exemplifies the heightened dining experience here. This restaurant is considered Disney's high-tier signature dining for this prix fixe meal. The filet is by far the most popular item on the menu. It is a bit heavy for lunch, so getting it for lunch on a busy, very, very hot, exhausting day is a little much. Now this one is served with Yukon potatoes, seasonal vegetables, and cipollini marmalade with a red wine glaze. Those potatoes were awesome, and the cipollini marmalade had a really, really nice flavor. But just keep that in mind as you're ordering if you do go to Be Our Guest for lunch. If you're going to Be Our Guest restaurant when you're in Florida, you may choose to do a dinner reservation here just because the meal is relatively heavy. And also if you want to order beer, wine, and have a couple of drinks, then this may be a better option for dinner, so you don't have to sort of go back out and have the rest of your super hot, exhausting Magic Kingdom day when you've just had a giant meal and some alcohol. So think about making this a dinner reservation instead of a lunch reservation. But for those of you who aren't able to get a dinner reservation, you can do the whole thing for lunch. Now back to the filet. It was cooked appropriately. They had seasoned it well. Overall, it was a good dish. For a kid's meal, we tried out the house-made mac and cheese, which was huge. I mean, this serving was massive, you guys. I think this is definitely an adult size serving. So if you have kids who love them some mac and cheese, then you're going to be fine. Otherwise, you're probably going to have to pack some to take home. But this was quite good. Probably one of the better kids mac and cheeses that I've had on property. Honestly, I very much enjoyed this, and it's served with 2 selections on the side. Kids can also pick grilled beef tenderloin or pan-seared chicken breast for their choices. We went for steamed green beans and sweet potato wedges as our side, but kiddos can also get sauteed zucchini or wild rice. Now the steamed green beans, there was no butter, there was no salt, it was just straight up steamed green beans. So if you want any sort of extras on there, you're gonna have to ask for those. And the sweet potato wedges were wonderful. Again, super, super sweet. I'm not used to sweet potatoes being quite that sweet, but they were great. So I think kids are gonna love those. All right, so let's talk about dessert. Again, everybody gets the dessert trio. So for grown-ups, that's a lemon jam macaron, a white chocolate chip cup, and by chip cup, where they're talking about the character Chip because it looks like him. And there's gray stuff in there, which of course is that cookies and cream panna cotta that they've had since the restaurant opened. They always have some version of the gray stuff on every menu. And there was also a dark chocolate truffle. So this whole thing was really adorable. The lemon jam macaron was very, very tart. Lots of powerful flavor in that. Really, really good. The white chocolate chip cup was adorable, and it had that gray stuff in it. And don't be shy. Go ahead and eat them. It's good. And the dark chocolate truffle was super great as well. Again, super, super rich. If you are a rich dark chocolate fan, then this is going to be great. If you don't like that sort of slight bitterness to your chocolate, this may not be your favorite. So just keep that in mind. And the kids' dessert trio comes with a little paintbrush and edible paint to decorate the white chocolate teacup that comes on the plate. It's a great way to keep them entertained at the end of a longer meal. The kids' dessert trio also comes with some of the gray stuff, a cake pop, and a macaron that was definitely sweeter than the adults' version. So let's talk about if it's worth it. $62 for lunch. So prior to park closures, lunch at Be Our Guest restaurant was one of my favorite lunches in Magic Kingdom. It was a great out-of-pocket value, lots of upscale food options, plus a fast casual meal where you order at a kiosk and your food is served to your table on plates with silverware. Real plates with real silverware. It was a nice change of pace from quick service meals versus a standard table service meal in the parks. It was great value. So back then, the tuna niçoise salad and roast beef sandwich were excellent options. All the entrees for adults were $14 to $17, which is a super reasonable price for the portion size and quality of the food. Now, the only option to get inside the restaurant is to drop around $200 for a family of 4 before tax and gratuity. So the food on the prefix menu is decent, but it's not on a par with other signature restaurants in Disney World like California Grill or Jico, but it is good nonetheless. Service is great, at least it was for us, and the whole dining experience gives you a chance to take a break during your Magic Kingdom day, which is awesome, but you can do that at other Magic Kingdom restaurants. So, more pros for the restaurant, the Beast. It's great to see him out and about. This is not advertised as a character meal, but it's awesome that you actually get to see that character, especially such a rare character. And again, you get to dine inside the castle, and here at DFB, we always talk about how the atmosphere you're in is really part of the price, especially at Disney World, because it's such a story-based experience. So being able to go into the castle, being able to wander around the rooms and, experience that level of Imagineering in a restaurant, well, that's worth something. So super expensive meal. Food quality is good, but not excellent, like what you would get at Jiko or something like that. And the service is pretty good. And you get to see the Beast and dine in the castle. So overall, Be Our Guest restaurant as a signature restaurant is still a little bit overpriced, I think. But Disney's pricing it there because people are willing to pay it and they want to go and they want to be inside that restaurant. So now I think even more than before, you're going to see more people paying that price because they can't get in for breakfast and lunch as a fast casual meal any longer. Basically, if you're going to get into the Beast Castle, you're gonna drop this much money. So there's really no alternative. And if you want to see inside, you've got to do this. So it is a little bit overpriced for what you get, but I understand that this is your one shot. So I think they're going to sort of keep it there. If you have mega Beauty and the Beast fans in your party, it can be a great option for a midday break for you or for an evening break. But because this is a prefix meal now, note that you're not going to be able to split meals or manage the budget as you would at an a la carte restaurant. So that's another really important thing. If you bring 4 people in, you're going to pay for 4 people, most likely, unless you have a really lenient server who's willing to not do that. So I think generally for me, there are better ways to spend that kind of cash on a Disney World trip. So I'm not sure that I would do the Beauty and the Beast, Be Our Guest restaurant, lunch or dinner multiple times. I wouldn't do it more than once. If you need to get inside the castle, if you need to see what it looks like in there and you need to see the Beast, totally get it. Totally makes sense if you have a Beauty and the Beast fan. Yeah, because again, you're paying for the atmosphere, you're paying for the experience. But I think this is probably one and done for me. And that's what we thought after we had the first signature dinner there as well, that was nice, but that was one and done. We're probably not going to go back regularly because the price tag just doesn't justify doing that. So hopefully that's helpful. That is the new Be Our Guest restaurant situation right now. Signature meal for lunch and dinner. No fast casual, no counter service, no quick service options available at all. So thank you guys for listening. Thanks for watching. We want to know what you think. Have you been since they turned lunch into a signature meal? Have you had a signature meal at dinner there before? What do you think? Let us know in the comments if you'd recommend the Be Our Guest restaurant experience at that current price tag. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Vlog, and we'll see you real soon.